Notice, in accordance with the new copy regulations, this episode, Quoth the Raven, is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we feel features sometimes is kid-friendly, the context of our episode is to address adults and inform them of said content within the researchers, consumers, and service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well. Rated TV 16 and up. Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 29-year professional writer, illustrator, and editor in comics, role-playing games, and prose fiction. And it is Monday, May 24th. That means it is time, once again, for another weekly comics reviews. But we have a few questions that have been asked for the Q&A this week, so we'll get to that first. Our first question of the night is, paraphrase from Aaron Lepresti's Facebook page. Do you follow comics creators from project to project, or are you a reader who sticks with the characters no matter who is working on the book? I'm a little more complex than that. I don't follow. I used to follow creators everywhere they went, certain ones. Like I used to be a Byrne victim, John Byrne victim. The guy who has to have everything John Byrne ever did in his career type thing. So for a long time, I followed him from project to project. I did the same thing with George Perez. There were a few others here and there, but probably around the mid to late 90s, I stopped doing that. And I didn't have anybody there to make me care about staying with the characters, because a lot of the stuff that was going on in the characters in the 90s alienated me as a reader. So I just, I'm very much more of a person that it has to be the right creative team on the right book at the right time. So much more complex. But I don't know. How about other people out there who are watching? What do you guys do? I mean, do you follow specific creators everywhere they go, or are you just fans of the characters and it doesn't matter who's writing or drawing it, you're still going to collect it even if it's bad, just to have the collection intact? Let me know what you think on that one. In the meantime, we'll go to our next question. Anonymous says, I noticed you said you have a bunch of blank covers available for blank sketch covers available for commissions, but they're all old books. How come? Well, part of it is because they were stuck in my vault and I pulled them out of the vault. And part of it is because I don't have the money to spend on a bunch of blank books that are not necessarily going to sell. So, a lot of those books that I have, I got at markdown prices because they were sitting in comic shops unsold. So, there's that too. Mark Andrew Smith says, I used to follow specific creators around 2000, but I don't really follow anyone these days. And yeah, I think that's pretty true for everybody. I mean, when you're a kid or a teenager or even a young adult, you have certain people that you favor and connect with. And then as you grow older and the market changes around you, you tend to deviate away from that sort of thing. I think at least most people I know do. I can't say everyone does. I know a lot of people still buy the characters just because it is the character, but it is what it is. Pop Culture says, hey, Raven, and hello to Mark Andrew Smith. Pop Culture, did you get my email about the card order? Because we need to talk about that after the show sometime. I got your updated prices for the the shipping and handling and everything with the insurance for it and everything today at the post office, and I can give you that information after the show. Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, about the blank sketch covers, if someone wants a specific sketch cover that's modern or current, you can always ask me, and I can always see if it's available through one of my local retailers and see if I can get a copy for it. I haven't got a problem with that. So I just don't actively seek them out that much because I've got a box load of them to do already. All right, thanks, man. Mm-hmm. All right, next question is, did you think that there's a sort of jealousy or envy because manga are outselling American comics? Various parties. No, because a lot of the news stories that are claiming that manga is outselling American comics are not accurate. They're like totaling all the numbers of copies of all the volumes of a series that's sold, 7 or 8 or 10 million copies across the whole series as one issue, and that's what outsold all of the American market. Well, no, that's not accurate. The one volume probably sold about 50 to 80,000 units. Well, you times that times 27, and now you've got your several millions of copies. It's just not an accurate thing. And the other reason I don't necessarily think there's envy of it. I mean, I think some people like Mark mentioned Jerry Conway was complaining about misogyny in manga. Well, there is misogyny in manga, and there is misogyny in anime. Maybe it's a little more the older stuff that has it more so than the newer stuff. I don't know, but I know it is there. Mm-hmm. But his point wasn't that he's jealous or envious. It'd be kind of hard for him to be jealous when he's been published over 1,000 times as a comic books and has been writing for television for 40 years professionally. I think he's got his. He's got his. He's not worried about whatever anybody else is getting. Trust me. There's no envy to be had. There's no jealousy to be had, and I think that's the same for me. I don't really, I'm more of a mindset of, okay, if this is selling so well, why? If I don't see what it is that's so popular about it, and that's something I'll talk about a little bit more later on this week on Friday, because we're going to do a whole manga night, and I'm going to review some of these popular series that everybody are talking about. It's so great, and my reaction to them may not be what you think, but we'll see. That's on Friday. But as far as the other thing is, and people need to realize this, was like 10 years ago when all the major bookstore chains like Walden Books and BJ Dalton's and these other stores went out of business and merged with other companies. Borders Book Group merged and all this stuff. There was a discovery, shall we say, of a lot of unsold manga from CPM, from Tokyo Pop, from a lot of these other publishers. Just because the books sold to retailers doesn't mean it was reaching readers. And there's a dynamic between what the market says a sale is and what the actual audience base is. And we don't have a good system of being able to determine what the actual audience base is compared to what retailers are ordering. And this isn't just true with manga. This is true in comics in general. There's a lot of people who over-order on X-Men, over-order on Batman, over-order on Spider-Man, and have tons of copies in their stores just gathering dust. It's the same thing with books in the 90s. That's why we had the boom and bust of the 90s. So that process still keeps going on. It's just maybe not as pronounced as it was when we had the boom and bust of the 90s. And so, again, I don't really know if there's anything to be jealous or envious about, so much as an understanding of, yes, there is a popular subgroup within the manga anime fan community. Generally, what I am learning is the people that are into the manga tend to come in not through books, but through the animation versions, and then say, oh, there's books, I'll get the books. So I think that's kind of a different nature of the beast too. So I don't know. Pop Culture Avenger says, Barnes & Noble has a huge manga section, but do not carry DC and Marvel anymore. The reason they don't carry DC or Marvel anymore is because of who and what their distribution system is, primarily. You got to remember that there's more than one distribution channel for manga, and everything goes through Diamond, or, well, DC left Diamond and then has their own messed up mess. And so a lot of the contracts with the big companies like that went kaput in the last 2 years. So that's a big part of why. Another reason why is because, again, the Marvel and DC books were not selling. They were ordering big numbers, but the numbers weren't translating into sales to readership. This is why Marvel and DC and a lot of these other companies started selling all this stuff at bulk to groups like Ollie's Bargain Discount Chain, and they were selling them at pennies on the dollar to Ollie's, who's taking a $25, $30 trade paperback and selling it for $3 because they got it for like $1.50. So they're still making their profit. In the meantime, Marvel and DC are losing their asses on those books, and that's all unsold, discovered stock that, they say this is the numbers it sold. Mm-mm. And that's what I'm saying. We don't have a good indicator or system to explain what the translation is from print run to actual orders to actual sell-through. And until we have that, we really do not have an accurate gauge of what the comics market or a book market is. The book market's a little bit better than the comics because comics have different systems. There's difference between selling to bookstores like Barnes & Noble or Walden Books or Second and Charles or whatever. And then there's the distributors that distribute strictly to libraries, and then there's the distributors that are going to comic shops, and then there's distributors that are going to schools. And I don't know anybody, even Bookscan really doesn't indicate those different segments to show where the market actually is for age group or any type of audience dynamics. And I think that's one of the reasons why the comics industry is struggling in America to figure out how to market product and build new audience, is because the system is just not structured properly so that we can get that information that's vital to that understanding, so we can better learn how to market and structure our publishing platforms as publishers. And that's pretty much my questions for this week. But if you have questions, you can always email quothravenlbr72@gmail.com, subject QTR Q&A. Pop Culture says, the thing is, Barnes & Noble's family-oriented young kids and adults only see manga now. They buy one of those, and they will lean towards manga in the future. I don't see that. I've got about 340 kids in my neighborhood, and they don't know these characters. I have, I'll take the manga books and the Marvel comics for Free Comic Book Day and for Oktoberfest, and I'll give them out for Halloween. Those free comics, and they don't know the characters from any of them, so I don't really see it. It's hard to say. I think a lot of them, they might know them from film or television, but they don't know the books at all. And again, I think that's more of a reality check for what's there. I mean, you might have a book in a store, but just because it's sitting on a rack doesn't mean people are noticing it. And the other thing is, like my library, they started rebuilding the comics and manga selection. And I started getting some of the manga that I'm going to review on Friday. We'll have that. I got most of that stuff from the library that I'm going to be reviewing. The guy who told me that they were looking for this, well, yeah, it was me and this other guy. I said, well, wait a minute. Do you remember the person that used to live in this other part of South Carolina that had a book called Wingman? He goes, yeah, that guy gave us all this knowledge about what books to order. I said, yeah, that was me, dummy. So they're like, oh. So, it was kind of who gives who the information on what to get. A lot of times I'll go into the libraries and tell them where to buy trade paperbacks and hardcover graphic novels at comic shops or at bookstores on the cheap, so that they can get more stock and variety in their store or in their library, rather. Sometimes I'll even go buy them myself and just take them to the library and say, here you go. But I wish more people did that, because that would be cool. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into our reviews for the evening. We start with the Bequest, number 3. It's $4.99 from publisher Aftershock Comics. Writers Tim Seeley. Artist is Freddie Williams 2, with colors by Jeremy Caldwell. The genre is urban fantasy. It was released May 19, 2021. The heroes must undertake an epic quest across a broken and dangerous land. America! Yeah, we're definitely broken and dangerous. When the Mad Monk epic Crave unleashes monsters on small towns, Warlock and the War Party face more than just impossible creatures as they're assaulted by suspicion, anger, and the dying gasps of the American dream. Yeah, that's about it. A good chunk of the early part of this issue is fun because we get the group making contact with their home world of Tangia so that they can get a handle on what their mission should be. The War Party group knows exactly what they want to do, but they need to convince the elders of this action that they're right in their approach. Crave is a threat, but the usual concern about weapons transportation between Tangia and Earth is all that the elders seem to really care about. And Crave doesn't seem to be doing that anymore, so they're like, they don't really care. As long as he's on Earth's side and where the barrier is stronger, the elders don't see them as a threat. But the War Party sees them as a threat. Getting the elders to understand that it isn't that hard as Warlock, the head of their group, is surprisingly eloquent in this and basically acts the opposite of how he's behaved throughout the series, which I don't know. It's kind of a weird character flip, but okay. The rest of the group, or rest of the issue rather, is basically a road trip buddy action adventure where they take down baddies and get a feel of what America is like by being in the quote-unquote Midwest, which doesn't necessarily reflect America any more than any other segment of the country, but I guess since that's where Freddie's from, and that's the area of the country he's familiar with, that's as good a section to reflect America as any. Meanwhile, Crave and his army aren't anywhere near the middle of the country, They're instead invading Washington, D.C., and the fit is about to hit the shan. My thoughts are, it took 3 issues to heat up to the plot. Basically, if you're a Freddie Williams fan, it's worth your money. If you're indifferent to his art or you don't care for his art, then there's not much of a story to warrant following it. Recommended for ages 16 and up. I give it 3.5 stars. I've been giving it 3 to 3.5 stars on the regular, hoping it would get better. It's really stayed about the same. Here's some of the artwork from Freddie. I guess there's fur over the lioness's chest or something, or she's wearing a dress, I guess, over it. It's kind of a weird outfit. But you know, I wish they'd done a different color to go with the tan. It kind of looks a little bit off there, but it's no biggie. And then here's some more of the artwork from Freddie, where they're fighting different monsters in different areas, taking them down. Okay. Next book is Chained to the Grave #3 for $3.99. Publisher is IDW Publishing. Writers are Andy Essenbach and Brian Level, with art by Kate Sharon. Not sure which way it's pronounced. Genre is dark fantasy western. It was released May 19th. And what's about outlaw Ray Mason has come back from the dead, chained to the headstone that marked his grave. On the trail of buried gold and hunted by a big bad, he struggles to hold his family and his body together. My thoughts are, the story has moved along pretty briskly. This is a pretty solid middle of the story arc issue. It's enticing enough to maybe make audiences want to try and get the back issues, but substantial enough in content to move the story forward. Recommended for ages 16 up. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Don't have art to show. Just time-wise, I didn't have a chance to get the artwork from this scanned and put in. But it's pretty psychedelic coloring and weird stuff like what you see on the cover. And that's part of the appeal of it is the psychedelic colors and the odd art style by Sharon. Our next book is Engineward #10, the $3.99 from Vault Comics. Writer George Mann, artist Joe Eisma, with colors by Michael Garland. The genre is science fiction, released May 19th, 2021. What it's about, this is the climactic sequence of the story. It begins as Joss and her crew race back to town to try to stop the Celestials. Meanwhile, the town has rebelled against the Celestials, and this leads Ares to take a force of army of his own to the town and start slaughtering townsfolk. Joss and company arrive to drive off Ares with their new technology and powers. They're not a big force, but they do have some real power to them now and some alien help, which makes for a surprisingly strong victory in the storyline. Once they've driven off Ares and his followers, Joss tries to use the downtime after the battle to explain to everyone what has happened in the world that they're in full. It's about 2 or 3 pages of exposition, but it's done well. But at that same time, it allows Virgo, another member of the Celestials, to use the situation to gain control over the remaining Celestials and take power over the Celestials and become the new big bad. The question is she going to be tough enough? Is Virgo going to be tough enough of a big bad to really do much of anything else? There's only 2 more issues supposedly, of the story. My thoughts are the page count is normal at 20 pages, but the issue just feels thinner and shorter than it should be. Given how much exposition Joss gives to the townfolk, that makes it feel even more so. I've seen several reviewers talk about how special and important the early scene in the comic is. There's a scene where she's riding a steed and she falls off, and she finally figured out how to ride the thing and starts laughing because she's enjoying riding the steed. And they're saying, well, this is a really important scene that Joss is laughing, and I'm sorry, but I disagree. I don't see where it demonstrates her personality and how she'll accept her new role as the leader, eventual leader of the town. I would say the reason she hasn't laughed since the first issue is because she was never in a situation that warranted laughter. And so here she is in a situation where she needs to be able to laugh at herself, and wow, she does. What's the big deal? Why is everyone else in the crew commenting, and why does Mann, the writer, feel the need to hammer this over the reader's head? To me, that's just bad writing. So I'm not really in agreement with other reviewers on that score. The art by Eisma is consistent, as it has been throughout the series. There's not much else to say there. The real question is what can they deliver in the final 2 issues of the series, and will it really be the end of the story, or will it just be the end of the story arc and they'll go into another one? I'm hoping it'll be the end of the story, because I'm kind of getting annoyed with people who say, well, it's this many issues, and then, oh, here comes the next one. But that's just me. Recommended for ages 16 up. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. And here's some of Eisma's art. And this is a scene where Ares is basically slaughtering the townsfolk. This is just before Joss and her associates get back to town. It's nice. It's clean. It's an interesting open style. I think a lot of books like these, if they were not in singles, but were done straight up trade paperback at an affordable price in that $9.95 to $12.95 range, like those manga that everybody sells so great, I think Barnes and Noble and other stores would probably buy them just as easily. I think people would buy that just as much as they would buy the manga, personally. But that's just my opinion. But when you're getting them in singles at $4.99, $3.99, I can see the resistance factor at play. Our next book is Jules Verne's Lighthouse, number 2 of 5, from Shadowline Image Comics at $4.99. Writers are David Hine and Brian Haberlin. Art by Brian Haberlin with colors by Gerard Van Dyke. Genre is science fiction. Released May 19th, 2021. What it's about: when Vasquez, that's the woman with the gun, runs out of her medication, her nanny bot, Moses, comes up with a new prescription. Now she has to contend with mood swings and side effects, as well as a horde of murderous space pirates. This could turn out to be a very bad day. As the pirates continue their secret mission from marauding the base that they did from issue 1, our heroine is introduced to a new ally that brings back some horrifying flashback memories. And just when you think all is well in the darkness of space, a massive weapons cache appears to mess everything else up. Just peachy. We're going to have some fun. My thoughts, once again, Moses the robot kind of drives the story and is the most likable character in the book. He makes a really great foil to Vasquez as he tries to help her with drugs, naturally, and support her slightly crazy ideas, which use guns, naturally. He's a sensible friend every person in space suffering from PTSD and wondering how to deal with space pirates needs at their side. As for Vasquez herself, we see the former soldier with PTSD who needs medication just to function, and she's lost access to that medication due to the space pirates because it's in her room on the station, and they've taken over the station, and she's not even on the station right now. So she's having to make do with whatever Moses can come up with. She's still strong and fearless, but that vulnerability with what's happened to her in the past makes her a more interesting character than if she was just simply good with weapons or guns, which incidentally, of course, she is. We start to see more of what sort of things have shaped her into who and what she is, and we get strong hints of her past in the Seraphim Wars, a past which it seems she cannot escape even out in the deepest of space. But does this actually make readers want to cheer for her? That's the question. I'm not so sure myself. But there are, the characterization is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Another good sign is the fact that new characters are being introduced and they actually add to the story. In this issue, we meet Davis, who is useful to have along, as she's the sole survivor from the ship the pirates crashed last issue. She's a very different character to Vasquez and provides a nice counterpoint to her. So it's not just Moses and Vasquez. There's a human element counterpointing Vasquez as well. Davis also provides information about past events that turns out to directly relate to Vasquez. So it's a subtle way to learn more about the main protagonist in Vasquez. On the flip side, in this issue, we really don't get all that much more information about the space pirates or their agenda. So we're kind of trading character backstory for Vasquez and an info dump on all that in place of moving the plot forward. In a 5-issue limited series, I'm not sure how well that plays out. Will that mean that the plot runs thin in the end? Probably. Maybe, maybe, I don't know. Quite likely anyway. And that's unfortunate. Recommended for ages 16 up, I give it 3.5 stars. And here's some of the artwork. And the artwork's nice. I mean, it's not like Haberlin can't draw. And this is Vasquez with Moses, and she's kind of biting his head off because she doesn't have her meds and stuff like that. And so he gives her a sedative shot, which helps her, but not, it's just, a short micro fix, I guess you could say. Here's some more of the artwork. This is Vasquez and Davis outside of the ship trying to get back in to where the space pirates are and get what they need out of there without being detected. And then Moses is explaining to Davis about Vasquez's history, and it's like, hey, shut up. That's not her business. These pages might be reversed. I'm not exactly sure which set came first on this one. I might have them backwards. The page that came before I showed before may come after this one. But if I have them out of order, I apologize. Our next book is Red Room #1 for $6.99. Publisher is Cartoonist Kayfabe and Fantagraphics. The creator is Ed Piskor. I think Cartoonist Kayfabe is a publisher anyway. I mean, it says Outlaw Comics, approved by Cartoonist Kayfabe right there in the bottom right corner. So I don't know. I assume it's them. Anyway, creator is Ed Piskor. The genre is horror/outlaw comics. Released May 19th, 2021. And what it's about: aided by the anonymous dark web and nearly untraceable cryptocurrency, a criminal subculture has emerged in our society. It live streams murders as entertainment. Who are the killers? Who are the victims? Who's paying to watch? Well, we're going to find out. #1 begins with Davis Fairfield, a clerk at a local courthouse, whose wife and daughter are killed in a car accident. Davis and his surviving daughter, Brianna, struggle to process this tragedy as the bills pile up and Brianna prepares to leave home for college. Davis's grief dredges up old hobbies from his past, and soon he finds himself watching illegal Red Room videos on the dark web again. These videos, produced by the clandestine Mistress Pentagram, and a cast of ghoulish performers depict real-life scenes of torture and murder. Mistress Pentagram and her employees produce these illegal videos from a secret location and stream them live on the dark web for fans to pay obscene amounts of money to watch the proceedings. Ed Piskor peels back the curtain of the dark web to reveal a business more heinous than anyone could possibly imagine. He's building a world populated by murderers and monsters, but as over-the-top and vile as it is, the story also functions as an exploration of internet culture as a whole. It covers the issues of online privacy, and the potentially disastrous real-life ramifications of online behavior are front and center throughout the story. My thoughts: if you're familiar with Ed Piskor's work from Hip Hop Family Tree or X-Men Grand Design, well, this is a huge departure to that content, both in terms of the subject matter and in his artistic technique. Here, the gore and the violence is massively over the top, but on top of this, Piskor takes his artistic effort and the detail up several notches. Visually, it's seriously the best overall art I've ever seen out of Ed. Unfortunately, that can be somewhat problematic because story-wise, I don't necessarily feel comfortable recommending the book. That doesn't mean it's not a good book. It's just, I don't know. I knew what I was getting when I ordered it. It's clearly marketed for mature readers, and Ed Piskor has no fault here at all. I think his story and his work are a tour de force in terms of the technical production of the work. The story, there's nothing "quote unquote" wrong with the story. I mean, it serves what it's supposed to serve. I mainly bought it because I've heard Ed talk about it so much on his Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube channel, and I was convinced to at least give it a look. Having done that, I can honestly say it's not to my personal taste, but that for what it is, if you're 18 or older, and you're someone who likes the heavy gore horror movie genre, or you're interested in the themes Ed is exploring with dark web and the underbelly society that can be involved in the dark web, okay, this might be your thing. I don't know. Recommended for 18 minimum. Sometimes this stuff I would say even the 21-year-old maybe should be buying it. Nobody under 21, but I'll say 18. The rating in terms of the skill level, the craftsmanship, it's 5 stars. In terms of my personal enjoyment of the work, it's a 3-star. And so I guess you'd give it a 4 overall. I don't know, but it's a very it's a different one. It's different. Did you order it from Fantagraphics? Is that why you haven't received it? Because I got mine at the store. And here's some of the interior artwork. Yeah, Pop Culture says yes, he got it from Fantagraphics. Yeah, I don't know what to think about Fantagraphics and their shipping. I don't know. Diamond has a terrible time shipping their goods. I got Monsters from Wintersmith weeks late after everybody else got theirs. Other times, Diamond says they can't get the trades I want, and I can get it from Fantagraphics in 2 days. And other times, Fantagraphics doesn't have it either, and it's just weird. So I don't know what to tell you about that one, Pop. Unfortunately, I can't get this tight enough to show on the screen that you can get the quality of the zepatone and the gray shading and all the other stuff that's in here, but it is just really masterfully well done. And I'm just really surprised at the quality of it. I do wonder why the daughter's wearing glasses when she's all beat up like that. Chances are they wouldn't put glasses on her. They would be either destroyed in a car accident or they would be, just not wearing it. But, oh well, not a big thing to complain about. It's just kind of odd. And then here's another scene where these people are out in the swamplands and stuff, and they're investigating. And of course, the people who are committing these crimes capture them. And again, you probably can't see all the tattoo detail on the figure on the right page as she's standing there holding the drone controller, but um, there's just all kinds of tattoo layout design on the whole body, and it's just like really, really well done. It's all done in the gray shading and zipatones. Very surprised at how well he did that. I understand that the most of this is done via computer these days. It's not done the old school way, but new school, old school, whatever techniques he's using, he's doing it very, very well. And of course, the guy who captured them drags them to the head of the group, the mistress, and he puts them where she tells them. And then, okay, well, we're going to talk about this. And then another person, it's one of her servers, kills him, stabs him in the neck because we can't have any witnesses of anything going on. So, and now they're going to go torture the two people that they were looking at to see if they're federal agents or whatever, law enforcement anyway. And overall, it's just like I said, the artwork is really nice. I was really surprised about that in a way, even though I'd seen previews of it plenty on Cartoon Kayfabe. I wanted to actually get it in my hands so that we could see it up close. Because it's one thing when you see it on screen, it's another when you have it right there in front of you. And so I certainly compliment Ed Piskor for the artwork. And I don't really have anything. It's not like there's anything bad about what he's doing with the characters, what the story's about, or anything. It's just not something that I'm probably going to follow moving forward because it's just not for me in terms of what I really want to read. But it was certainly worth the time and money to look at it and talk about it. Our next book is Strange Attractors #1, the 2021 edition for $5.99. Publisher, It's Alive. Creators Mark Sherman and Michael Cohen. They co-write it, and Michael Cohen does the interior art as well. The cover, as depicted here, is by Terry S. Wood, also known as Risa Challenger, same person. Genre, science fiction, released May 19th, 2021. And what it's about is Sophie, this character you're seeing on the cover, is curator of a futuristic museum, and she's caught up in an adventure involving science, magic, mathematics, and comic books. Sophie finds a mysterious medallion and meets Mason, both of which will change her life forever. Originally published for 15 issues from 1993 and 1997, this is the 2021 reprint edition. Now, my thoughts is I have about half of this series from the 1990s. I didn't have a real comics shop back then. I had to pick up issues as back issues at conventions as I found them, basically. I found a few of the originals I had in my vault room where it was printed on newsprint in black and white, and on some copies, and then they went more white bond gloss paper. This is printed on a high gloss bright white paper. Truthfully, I prefer it on the newsprint. I think that the newsprint gives it a more old-timey, timeless feel, I guess. And when you do it with the more modern printing, it kind of detracts from that, I think. The primary reason I got this copy was for the Terry Wood cover, which is very nice. The story is not as good as I remember it being, but I'm not sure if that's because the story just hasn't aged well, or if I'm just more critical than I was when it originally came out. Probably a bit of both. Because I do know that it does get better as the story progresses, I don't mind recommending the book. But I don't know whether it's better to get the modern edition or to go hunt the back issues online or at stores, comic shops, back issue bins. So I recommend it for ages 13 and up. I give it 3.5 stars. And here's some of the artwork. Some of this heavy black in the top right corner of the second page. In the newsprint edition, some of this stuff isn't as dark. You can see more of it clearer. For some reason, the contrast gets bumped up when you go straight to the white, the brighter white, and it kind of it can sometimes mess up how the printing shows, or at least it has in my edition of this book comparatively. So I don't know. Again, that's one of the reasons why I say I'm not sure if it's easier to go try looking for the old stuff from the 90s, the original run. Here we go again with another piece here. And again, Cohen's art nice. It has a kind of a, I don't know. It's interesting to see. I see some influence, of course, from the classic 50s and 60s EC artists in this. But then, exactly, do I want to sit here and say, well, he's influenced by this artist or that artist? Not really. I mean, I think you can see it enough that you guys can figure it out if you're familiar with that era of comics. Our last book is We Only Find Them When They're Dead. Number 6 for $3.99. Publishers Boom Studios. Writers Al Ewing. Artist is Simone DeMeo. Genre is science fiction. May 19th, 2021 is when it came out. Well, it's about 50 years have passed since Captain Malik and the crew of the Vihan 2 embarked on their fateful mission, and the universe has changed in ways no one ever expected. Jason Hauer, one of the fated Vihan 2 crew, is now 71 years old and living a life on the razor's edge between the harvesters and the worshippers. The harvesters are the ones who get the organs and other things from the dead godlings. And there's a fight between them and people who worship these dead gods. As these rival religious factions clash throughout the galaxy, Jason finds himself into the center of the chaos and forced to confront his tortured past. But the only people who can help Jason have their own secret agenda, and when they bring him face to face with Captain Malik, it messes up things in ways beyond comprehension. My thoughts are, for some reason, I was thinking this was the last issue of the first story arc instead of the start of the second arc. And I got to be perfectly honest with you, I don't really have much interest in this story anymore. So rather than give a disinterested review, I'm just going to give it a middle of the road rating, because that's what I've been generally giving the series, is a 3 to 3.5 star run. But I'm done with reading the series, personally. I'm just not that interested in it. It's recommended for ages 16 and up, 3 stars out of 5. And I'm not going to show art. So that covers reviews for the day and this week. So what comes forward as we move forward into the following week coming through Memorial Day? Well, on Wednesday, we're going to have our regular what did you get this week? I will be getting quite a bit of stuff, apparently. Let me see if I can check that out real quick here as what I'm supposed to be getting. What I will get and what I'm supposed to be getting are not necessarily the same thing, but we'll look. Supposedly what I'm getting this week is previews, Shadecraft number 3, Girls of Dimension 13 number 2, Redshift number 1, Sweet Downfall trade paperback, They Fell from the Sky number 4, and hopefully they'll be able to get a Black Star original graphic novel, which was supposed to come out 2 or 3 weeks ago, but apparently hasn't arrived. So that's what I'm hoping to get this week. We'll see what actually shows up at the store. Now on Thursday, unfortunately this week, I just got informed today as I was going out to my errands, I've got to do something on Thursday and I'm going to be too wiped out. So we've postponed that. We're not going to have a Thursday night show this week as a result. On Friday night, 9 p.m., we'll be reviewing manga titles. We're reviewing One Punch Man, Demon Slayer. Those will both be the first 2 volumes. Soulless, I think, is also the first 2 volumes. I'm trying to think of what else. If I can get through the omnibus of Lone Wolf and Cub, I'll review that. It's not that I can't. It's a matter of time, not that I can't get through it. I've read Lone Wolf and Cub before. It's more of a refresher read for me on that one, but. So we got those and some other titles that right now I just can't think of off the top of my head. But probably about 7 to 12 books we'll be reviewing, or different titles we'll be reviewing on Friday night. And again, I don't know what my reaction is really going to be. I don't think that they're going to be as, I'm not going to like diss them on giving low ratings or anything, but I don't know if they're going to score as high as people might expect. We'll see. And that's pretty much this week coming in. And then Saturday, this weekend will be like Memorial Day weekend. So I'll just have a regular live draw. And that'll probably run from 1 to 5 or so. And we'll do a variety of things. I've got a bunch of different stuff I've got to get drawn. So we'll do that on Saturday and possibly on Sunday as well. Again, it depends on what the situation is. So that is our schedule for this week. And so if you have other questions or want to reach out to me, you can contact me at Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, on Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. You can look at my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You're watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright on YouTube. And if you have questions, you can reach me through Q&A about that you want to have asked on the podcast and answered on the podcast. Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com. If you can't reach me there, try LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. Again, Mondays is usually our comics news and reviews like we've had today. Wednesdays is our what did you get this week. Thursdays, I usually have a roundtable talk. I try to have a roundtable talk discussion. It just hasn't been panning out as often as I would like, and I apologize for that. We're going to try and get that corrected in the near future. And then Fridays is genre night, each week with a different genre, sometimes with guests, sometimes with not. And this week, again, we're revisiting manga as a general, not so much a genre, but, different system from American comics, and we'll review quite a few titles, as I said. Again, Saturday will be our live draw, and possibly on Sunday as well. So I want to thank you all for watching, as always. And I wish you a good week forthcoming, and we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.